Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Tapping into Life podcast. My name is Matthew B. I am your life coach, and I will be with you for the next hour, maybe less, depending on. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. Uh, as you all know, that the podcast does premiere a new episode every Thursday. However, I just felt uh, in my spirit to do this episode on Friday. So happy Friday, everyone. Come on in. It is so good to know that each and every one of you are continuing the journey into finding the true you. All right. And continuing the journey to learn more about you and go into depth with the learning and the knowledge and putting in the work. We're still headed into this season of accountability, acknowledging and putting in the work. So we got to continue to put in that work. All right. So we're going to dive right into the topic at hand, Soulful Friday. All right. And today's topic is going to be about the soul within. All right. That soul, that's the reason why we're alive in the physical world. Right. That's the reason why we're existing. That's the reason why we have our thoughts and our emotions and be able to do so many things in the flesh. That soul within. All right. Give me 1 second. One second. All right. 1 second. Let me see. Here. Hold on. One. Okay, I think we're good. All right, making sure everything was good. I don't need no problems. I'm slowly but surely getting more tech savvy because, I'm a millennial, but I ain't all that tech savvy, especially doing the podcast and you're doing it by yourself and, it's just you and God. So we got to make sure all the technical stuff is, technical issues are resolved before we dive into it. Because I really want y'all to grasp everything. All right. I want y'all to grasp everything. And we don't need all those technical issues. The internet acting up, the camera acting up, the microphone acting up, the lights ain't lighting. We gotta make sure everything's all right. All right. So everything looks okay. We're gonna dive right into it. Okay. So it's Soulful Friday. We're gonna talk about the soul, and this is very, 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 very interesting because I'm gonna give you some information that's gonna help you be in tune with your soul and what you need to do to make sure your soul is in tune and how your soul connects to everything else as it pertains to you, the individual. So I want you, if you have a pad and pen or notebook and pencil or something to write with and something to write on, okay? I want you all to take these notes and things that I say. When you're by yourself and you're having your me time and you're reassessing life and working on you'll be able to look back and say, okay, well, Matthew said this on the podcast, because this is what it's for. It's for you to study your life and study your individuality, study things that pertain to you. So you'll be able to carry on the goodness and fix what's hindering you. All right. So we're going to look at what a soul is. And everybody has a soul. Every human has a soul. right? And the soul is the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being. And it's often regarded as immortal, right? So no fleshly being can kill your soul. Let me say that again. Nothing on this earth can kill your soul. Your soul belongs in the spiritual realm, right? Your soul belongs in the spiritual realm. It was created in the spiritual realm, and nothing spiritual can be destroyed by anything physical. So we're going to fight spiritual warfare. We have to fight spiritual warfare with what? Spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom, right? Spiritual energy. We can't fight it. We can't take a baseball bat and beat spiritual warfare. All right. So that's what the soul is. I'll read it again. The spiritual or immaterial part of a human being, right? And with that being said, the immaterial aspect or essence of a human being, that which confers individuality. So this is where your individuality originates from. This is where you find your answers to maneuver through life as it pertains to you, the individual, and as it pertains to your earthly or fleshly existence. Okay? It confers individuality, humanity, and often is considered to be synonymous with self. So this is you, right? The fruit that you produce in life, the spiritual fruit that you produce in life is produced or created in the soul. All right? What you possess is in the soul. What you should be possessing, but is absent, you would find in the soul had it would have been present. Right? So these are the things that are in the soul. And it's often not only synonymous with self, but it's synonymous with the mind, right? Your mind is connected to your soul. Your emotions are connected to your soul. Your spirit is connected to your soul. And your will to survive, your will to exist physically is connected, y'all, come on, to your soul. So your soul has a lot of power, right? But if we're not in tune with our soul, because naturally when we're born, we don't even know what a soul is, as a baby. We don't know what a soul is. It's when we learn later on in life, we know what a soul is. But your soul, if it's not in tune, or if it's not acknowledged, or if it's not embraced, if there is no knowledge that your soul exists, then your soul oftentimes is compromised by a lot of things in your atmosphere. Your soul is oftentimes compromised by things that are in your atmosphere, by what people place in your atmosphere, because we have to keep in mind that the atmosphere, your spiritual atmosphere is where the food of the soul resides. So if you have love in your atmosphere, your soul feeds off that love in your atmosphere. If you have hate in your atmosphere, that love feeds off the hate in your atmosphere. If you have peace and patience, both, whether it's good or bad, whatever good or bad fruit that is in your spiritual atmosphere, your soul feeds off of. Y'all hear that? Whatever good or bad fruit. Whatever good or bad that exists is in your soul because of what was placed in the atmosphere. So now is the time that we really need to start assessing. We really need to start assessing exactly what's in our soul. And if it ain't so good, we need to figure out why it's in our soul. We need to figure out how we gonna get it out of our soul. Because if it's in the soul, that's a bad thing. Right? When it's in the spiritual atmosphere, we can decipher, what it is, and we can do away with it so it won't affect us in the future. If in the present we acknowledge it. But once you get into that soul, it starts doing a lot more damage because it starts affecting the emotions. It starts affecting the mind. It starts affecting what you do physically. So, physically, it starts to manifest. It starts manifesting the hate by words or action. It starts manifesting, the violence. Start manifesting, it's a lot of things. And we're sitting here like, well, wait. What's going on with that person? What's going on? Why do you do that? Or why she say this? It's because of what's in the soul. So get your soul. We're gonna get our souls right? We're headed into the season of getting our souls right. We're heading into the season of acknowledging the things that we need to remove from our souls, because things that are in our souls that are bad, that are hindering us, these things start getting intertwined in our spiritual existence. It starts to compromise the spiritual DNA of who we are. And once that happens, it starts producing some not so good fruit. So we need to understand that in order to produce the good fruit, you understand that the soul is what creates the fruit. And if the soul is tainted and compromised, you best believe that fruit is not going to come out. It's not going to be produced the way that we want it to be produced and the way that God wants us to produce it, right? So, like I said, in order for the soul to function, it must partake from what your spirit feeds it. Right. And I got notes. I'm not just going to sum this all up because, I'll be getting into my topics. And before you know it, I done wrote a whole essay and be trying to cram it into an hour episode. But I want to have conversations from now on. All right. So I'm going to discipline myself moving forward to have an hour conversation instead of an hour lecture. I think some of y'all are like, if he lectured me one more time. But no, we're going to have conversations, okay? But I highlighted the key points to what the totality of my notes are saying, all right? So I'm going to get my point across, and we're going to be out of here. So your soul, within your soul is your individuality. It's who you are, the individual. You, the individual, the definition of you, the individual, is created in your soul, right? One thing, like I was saying, one thing about the soul, we really have to be mindful of what goes into our soul. We really have to be mindful of what we allow to go into our soul. We're at the point in humanity that we are able to acknowledge and have the ability to acknowledge what is beneficial and detrimental to our well-being and as it pertains to you, the individual, right? And so to really put a stop to what's in the soul that's not good, we really have to go to the spiritual atmosphere. And like I said, if you have love and goodness and kindness and joy and happiness and and optimism, and if you have all of these love and light traits, if you possess these things in your spiritual atmosphere, your soul will forever be good eating. It will forever be that soul that it's going to be some good eating tonight. That buffet with all your favorite fruits and foods, and your soul is going to be eating correctly. But if your soul has a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of hate, jealousy, judgment, toxic behavior, you got to analyze the spiritual atmosphere, right? So here's the thing. What's in your spiritual atmosphere is not always what you put in your spiritual atmosphere. It's a mixture of both, but it's a mixture of what you allow other people to put in your atmosphere, or what has been placed involuntarily in your atmosphere. And it also is what you put in. Now, what you put in comes later. That's an effect. The cause of what you put into your atmosphere stems from what other people put in your atmosphere, or what you allow other people to speak in your spiritual atmosphere. So if somebody speaks, you're never going to do anything. You're never going to amount to anything. That's not going to work. You should do it like this. I don't know why you're doing it like that. Judgment, judgment, judgment. Hate, calling derogatory names, hurting your feelings. All of these things, if you allow it to enter your spiritual atmosphere, 9 times out of 10, your soul is going to feed off of that. So we run across situations. I'm going to give you an example. You know somebody, and it's just something never right with them. They might have an addiction. They might be an alcoholic. They might always be angry and bitter. They might not be able to hold down a steady relationship. They might not be able to hold down a steady job, And you be like, okay, what is going on with this person? Every time I turn around, y'all, is something with this person. More than likely, it's because of pre-finding who they are. Somebody has placed or spoke toxic and evil and hate and everything opposite of good into that person's spiritual atmosphere, right? And we see it every day, whether we're listening to everybody else's story, or whether we've received revelations of self-discovery, that when it comes down to the atmosphere can only be strengthened by the person whose atmosphere it pertains to. And when we come across these situations where, the parents may have abused or, sexually assaulted or just abandoned them, or they may have, been in some kind of foster care where it's the person talking down on them, or, just evil and wickedness in all places. Just, and that compromises what the spiritual atmosphere is for. So now you got all these poisons and these toxins in these spiritual atmosphere. And like I said, so the soul feeds off of that. And when the soul feeds off of that, it then produces fruit that reflects what was originally in the spiritual atmosphere. So now that person goes on and produces these fruits. Whether they know it or not, they produce these fruits. So when they produce these fruits, now we're in a situation to where it's a hurt people kind of thing. Now we're in a situation to what has been done to them is now being done to other people by the individual. So if, for example, my parents told me that I would never amount to anything, and I let my soul feed off of that because it's in my spiritual atmosphere, I then create fruit and speak fruit into everybody else's atmosphere as well as my own, that, okay, first, I believe that I'm never going to be anything because of what somebody else said. And then on top of that, I begin to project my hurt onto other people. You see what I'm saying? Hurt people kind of thing. Yeah, that's all that is. That's exactly what that is. So we have to understand that though we have to hold people accountable for what they put in the atmosphere and what they do to hurt people or say things to hurt people's feelings, we have to keep in mind that, yeah, you're wrong. That's wrong. But understand that the only why they're doing it is because of what their soul have eaten. And what their soul have eaten are toxic, evil, wicked character traits because of somebody else speaking that into their soul, or inflicting some kind of hurt or pain. And so we got to assess the food that's in our spiritual atmosphere. And, when things aren't so good, when there's a lot of abuse and hurt and judgment and anger and stuff like that, we really have to understand why we allowed, or why we continue to allow those toxic traits in that spiritual atmosphere to be compromising, tainted. Because, yes, some people have had childhoods of hurt and filled with hurt and pain, and, knocked upside the head here and a concussion there, and life just beat the crap out of you. But it comes to a certain point to where we have to say, not anymore. I'm old enough to know who I am. I'm old enough to know that what you're doing and what you're saying is you're poisoning my vibe. You're killing my vibe. You're killing the positivity in me. So I'm gonna need you to stay over there. I don't care if I call you parent, grandparent, brother, sister, worker, co-worker, friend, whoever. Just because you got some stuff going on with you, don't mean that you're gonna roll up on me and poison my spiritual atmosphere, because my soul got to feed off of this. In order for my soul to produce some good fruit, it must partake and good food and good fruit that was originally in my spiritual atmosphere. So when we start acknowledging these toxic traits and these toxic behaviors from other people, we got to handle them kind of different now. Because the longer we allow them to spew all of this stuff in our spiritual atmosphere, the more effect it has on us in the long run. Your low self-esteem, the depression, the anger, the abandonment issues. These are the end results of a tainted and compromised spiritual atmosphere that the soul has fed off of. So when the soul feeds off these things, like I said, it produces fruit. Now, not only does it affect the fruit that you produce, it affects the individual that the soul is connected to. Now, here we go. A lot of us, bring it in. Right? And you might want to write this down. A lot of us think we are who we are, and we think we know who we are, and we think this is the person that me, or you, the individual, is supposed to be. But 9 times out of 10, a lot of that stuff ain't it. It ain't the real you. It ain't the true you. The life that God's spoken to you is totally opposite of what you think you're supposed to be. But because somebody spoke a certain criteria or a certain expectation or inflicted certain words or harm or hurt in you, your soul begins to now impart that in your individuality. Okay? What the soul produce, write this down, y'all. What the soul produces, or what the soul consumes, is also found in your DNA, your individuality. The DNA that's in your individuality reflects what's in your soul, or what your soul has partaken in. Because now that soul possesses the very toxic behavior that it fed off of from the atmosphere. So you know what's going to happen? It's going to pass along in your DNA. So your individual self, you going around here thinking this is who I am, this is who I was meant to be in this world. I guarantee you, if you have a moment, God will reveal to you that a lot of that stuff ain't it, and that ain't the true you. Bam. Y'all feel me? Y'all feel me? I'm this type of person. I'm that type of person. That ain't you, bro. That ain't you. That ain't you. That iniquity allowed. That iniquity allowed you to go around thinking that that was you. But if you really look at your spiritual DNA, that individuality, if you're looking at DNA, you would realize that a lot of stuff is the toxic fruit from someone else that they projected in your atmosphere and your soul ate up off of. So what we need to start doing, we need to start putting a wall around our spiritual atmosphere. I don't care if you got to take a rosemary bath. I don't care if you got to anoint your head with some holy oil. I don't care if you got to pray to whoever or whatever that you need to pray to. What I'm saying is, you need to start protecting. We need to start protecting our spiritual atmosphere, because that's where it all starts right there. That's where it all starts. Someone imparting or inflicting something negative inside of you, whether it's your parents, whether it's your friends, whether it's the neighbor that lives down the street. Someone has imparted something in you. But your iniquity allowed it to then be fed to the soul, and your soul partake in it. So now you got some DNA in you that should not be in there. There is some, bring it in, bring it in. Y'all ever realize? Y'all ever realize that the healthiest person in the world who is straight edge is diagnosed with cancer? Hear me when I say this. What's projected in the spiritual world, what's projected in the spiritual realm, well, what's projected in the earthly realm. Let me get my thoughts right. What's projected in the earthly realm first was spoken into the spiritual realm. And what is in the spiritual realm, and if it's not dealt with as it pertains to you, the individual, would cause a spiritual viral cancerous infection. Do you not know that there's a lot of people leaving up out of this earth that they had nothing to do with what they were doing in the flesh? We have people out here who are straight edge. They live a healthy life. They work out, they exercise, they don't overindulge in anything that can cause cancer or whatever, but they leave up out of here. But then if you take a look at their life, you realize that there is a lot of stuff that they had the opportunity to fix, but either they A, did not know how to do it, B, feared that that they would fail in life, or C, just ignored it. You ever realize that some of you who are spiritualists and some of you who believe in holistic practices, which is not witchcraft, mind you, you do realize that some of these holistic practices heal certain cancers depending on what that cancer stemmed from. So if it wasn't any earthly or fleshly cause of that cancer, it had to be spiritual. It's one of two things. It's one of two things. What's in the spirit can sometimes manifest and project itself in the flesh. Later on in life, I will share a story that would really justify that. But I just want you all to write that down. And I'm not saying if you don't fix it in a certain amount of time, you're going to get cancer and die. I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is that stuff that is acknowledged but is left unfixed would have its effect on you. It may not be in the present, but it will in the future. We got to remove that spiritual cancer up out of us. We got to remove those spiritual viral infections up out of us. And the first thing to do is realize that the soul is where it is. Why am I so messed up in the soul? Because you ate something that was in your spiritual atmosphere. So we have to really put our feet down and have that hedge of protection over us. Though I love you, parents, though I love you, husband or wife, though I love you, boyfriend or girlfriend, though I love you, loved one, though I love you, siblings, there's a boundary now. So all that toxic bullshit, you're going to have to stop that. If you can't roll up on me with the positivity, I'm going to need you to stay over there. And that's as real as it's going to get. Because at the end of the day, you're fighting the spiritual warfare. At the end of the day, your soul has to be in tune with itself. At the end of the day, this is your life. Pick and choose what you allow to be in your spiritual atmosphere. But when you pick and choose, you better pick and choose wisely. And the more you learn about yourself, and the more you tap into who you truly are, you will start seeing and be revealed to you that a lot of stuff that you thought was okay ain't okay. And that you need to make a change expeditiously because time is of the essence. Y'all okay? Y'all okay? Y'all write that down. If you didn't, you can always go back, but I just want to make sure y'all good, okay? just think about it. I want y'all to think about that. I want y'all to think about that. I'm in the process of assessing different things. And I'm in the process of saying, nope, nope, nope. That's good. We're going to keep the patience. But the impatience gotta go. That's good. That's good receiving facts. But hearsay gotta go. That's good with making sure everybody's okay. But minding other folks' business, baby, it gotta go. Okay, yeah. So-and-so said so, such and such. And it affected me way back when, but it ain't gonna do it now. You gotta go. There are entities. When I mean entities, I mean entities that are poisoning your spiritual atmosphere and it affects the food that your soul eats. It is up to you, the individual, to stop that. So once you really pay attention to you, the real you, the true you, and you are revealed to reveal the information that you need to be revealed, it is now up to you. You've acknowledged what it is. It's up to you, the accountability to put in the work and say, it gotta go. Let me fix the damage it has done. But I'm about to put a wall around my spiritual atmosphere because her over here and him over there and they over there, ain't nobody, nope. For those who are Christians, God said, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody get to my Father but through me. That's how you gotta treat your atmosphere. Though one may be governed by a higher power, you are the way that atmosphere is created, the truth in which you're going to allow that atmosphere to possess, and the life which is the effect of that atmosphere, what that atmosphere is when your soul comes to feed off of it. Nobody else will get or affect your soul unless they go through you. So if they ain't affecting it in a good way, baby, nah. Y'all gonna have to put up people like, let your guards down, let your guards down. That's why people so effed up in the head now, because they done let the guards down one too many times. Let your guards down. Now you got all these negative energies and these demons speaking all of this stuff in your head. You thought that was your friend, but she over here putting down witchcraft and he over there plotting for your demise, and you wonder why you ain't right in the head. You wonder why you got this going on over here and that's going on over there, and this is failing and that is failing, because y'all done let one too many demons inside y'all's spiritual atmosphere, and your soul is now feeding off that. You are now beginning to feel the effect of what your soul has fed up off. Why? What do you mean by that? Because it's in your DNA. It's in your spiritual immune system. It's in your spiritual DNA. Now you got to go through a season of A, acknowledging that it's our main right. B, finding out what it is and holding yourself accountable for finding out what it is. And C, putting in the work to now remove it. Because that's the only way it's going to get done. All right? That's the only way it's going to get done. So those that don't want to put in the work or want to half-ass put in the work, have at it. But for those who want to put in the work, we're going to continue, okay? We're going to continue because we're going to be great. If that means some of us fall off the bandwagon, hey, that's your soul, not mine. All right. Moving right along. I want everybody to hear this. Write this down. Write this down. Write this down. Your soul that creates you, the individual, that creates the individuality that is you, the individual. Your soul is just like a thumbprint. Everybody is different. Everybody's soul is different. So everybody is affected by both good and bad differently. Something may not harm you over here as bad as it did over here, as this person over here. We need to stop comparing one person to another person. If we can't physically compare thumbprints to one another, then we can't compare souls to one another, because that's the soul. The identity of somebody's soul is just like their thumbprint. It's different from the next person, and the only thing souls have in common is that it's different from the next person. We got to stop allowing other people to compare who we are or our existence to the brother or the sister or the or the cousin or the neighbor's daughter or son, or what I'm saying. We gotta stop doing that, because as quiet as it's kept, and I'm just speaking for me, you compare me to somebody else, you speaking into a language that I don't even understand. Like, I ain't got nothing to do with little JoJo over here. My name is Matthew, not JoJo. I was raised in this town, this city. I was born in this city, this state, on this date, this month, this date, this year, at this time. JoJo over there, he got something else going on. I ain't got nothing to do with JoJo. I ain't got nothing to do with Sally, Joe, Uncle Bob, Aunt Susie, Brother Tom, Sister Sally. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I may look like my mama. I may look like my daddy. I might have some physical traits. I might have some characteristic traits, and you know what I'm saying? But even their soul is different. Mama may have imparted half of her chromosomes, and daddy might have had, gave some of his chromosomes. I may have had, half of my chromosomes may be from my mama, the other half may be from my daddy, but at the end of the day, their souls is different. You can't compare. You can't compare me to my parents. I know daggone well you can't compare me to my siblings, to my cousins, to my aunties and uncles, to my friends, to the neighbors' kids. Like, everybody's soul is different, so everybody responds to things differently. Prime example, my mom and my dad can be stern on me. They can get on me. They can give me that tough love more than they do the rest of my siblings. Why? Because my sibling's soul is different from my soul. Everybody's soul is different. We got to stop comparing each other's souls. So when people come to me, oh, well, such and such lived this life and this life, I ain't got nothing to do with that. They ain't got nothing to do with me. They ain't got. I can't comprehend. Me no comprende. Like, what's going on? What's going on? All I understand is you said something about the neighbor's kid, or you said something about my brother. After that, I couldn't understand what you were saying. You speaking in a language that I don't understand. I'm trying to help you know. You trying to navigate how I'm supposed to be an individual. You can't navigate something that you know nothing about. Your parents know who you are as kids growing up to an adult, but at some point, they're no longer going to know your individuality. Ooh. So if your own parents at some point don't know your individuality, why are we allowing other people to navigate or and shape who we are as an individual? Think about that. That's a rhetorical question. Think about that. So spiritually speaking, they are exactly 4 spiritual elements, right? There are 4 spiritual elements. Let me talk about these elements. Excuse me. Your soul is made up of not only what it consumes, but it is constructed by 4 spiritual elements that is governed by discipline. So these spiritual elements, it's 4 of them. They're governed by discipline. And these spiritual elements are your spiritual atmosphere. We got to be disciplined on what we allow the spiritual atmosphere to hold or to possess. All right. Your emotions. We got to learn, we got to discipline ourselves on how we respond to things. And I understand that soul has a lot to do with those emotions, but we still got to govern. It's governed by discipline. We still got to discipline ourselves. Our mental, we still got to be disciplined in what we allow. Our atmosphere is already tainted. You might as well, right here. My mind acknowledges, my mental acknowledges something that ain't right. I can't allow that to affect my emotions. You got to be disciplined into knowing what's toxic and what's not toxic, what's beneficial and what's detrimental as it pertains to you, the individual. We got to learn how to do that. We got that discipline will carry you a long way. And your flesh, your willpower. All right. We got to be disciplined. When somebody says something out of pocket, you done gave about 4 or 5 million times to get it together. We just can't grow up and just pop them in the face. I know some of us want to do that, and I know some people deserve it, but we can't do that. Okay. We gotta control that anger, because you know that anger is a powerful emotion. That anger get to that flesh and say, knock him out. We can't do that. We got to be disciplined in how we handle stuff. All right. So all spiritual elements must be in tune with one another. So your mental must be in tune with your physical, that must be in tune with your spiritual, that must be in tune with, so your spirit must be in tune with your emotions, and that, those 2 must be in tune with your mental. Those 3 must be in tune with your flesh. Every pillar, every 4 elements have to be in tune with one another, because that would solidifies the strength in which the soul can now produce the harvest that we all want at the end of the season. Because if one ain't in tune with the other, then that's when your soul start eating poison food. That's when your soul start, eating that poison, that poison, toxic stuff that's in your spiritual atmosphere. But when it's in tune, oh baby, you be like, nope, I'll have that, nah. What's good way back then, not good now. Bye-bye. Like, hey, you got to be in tune. We have to be in tune. And we're going to get more in depth with the 4 spiritual elements. And as you can see on my arms, I have like 4 tattoos. Excuse me. Yeah. Where right here that I have 2 on this, it's let me see. Your water, which symbolizes your mental, your fire, which symbolizes your emotions, your air that symbolizes your spirit, and the earth, which symbolizes your physical, and your willpower to survive in the fleshly realm. And so these build the soul. These are 4 spiritual elements that create that is the foundation of the soul. So we got to make sure that the pillars, the columns of our souls are all in tune and connecting with each other. Our mind is reading off of, our mental, our flesh, and our spiritual, and it goes with all the other ones. One has to read off and be in tune with the other 3. That's how our soul can be in sync, right? And when, of course, when your elements are balanced, your soul is balanced. It's better it can operate better, it can function better, it can decipher better if everything is in tune. So this is a lot of work. We got to start this journey now. Time is of the essence. We got to get together. You're not going to get it overnight, people. Every day, there's a certain amount that you have to work on. Don't say in a week, I'm going to do A, B, C, X, A, B, C, D, E, when during that week, you, the individual, are only able to do A, B, and C. Step by step. Acknowledge, hold yourself accountable, and put in the work. Acknowledge we know it's something ain't right or something is right. What's beneficial, what's detrimental. If it's detrimental, we need to study and figure out why it's detrimental. Accountability. We got to commit to sticking to it. We got to admit when we're wrong. We got to admit if we have something to do. We got to admit if something caused damage and now, we really feeling it and it's doing more harm than it is good. And put it in the work. We got to put in the work. And like I said, and many people, whether they're Christians, whether they're, another walk of faith, there's a lot of elders in these walks of faith that will say, people just don't want to put in the work to be great anymore. And they're exactly right. But everything that you want, everything that you learn, everything that you want to happen good in your life, it starts with acknowledging, holding yourself accountable, and put it in the work. And if you can't do all of these 3, then apparently you really don't want what you say that you want. Oh, that's the AAW. Accountability, acknowledge accountability, and put it in the work. It's always going to come to that. No matter what you do as far as your spiritual journey and trying to be great in life, it's always going to come down to these 3 things. You can boil it down all you want to. Like when you boil salt water, it'll boil down to the salt. It's the same thing. When you boil it all down, 3, acknowledge, accountability, and putting in the work. All right. And that pretty much, that sums up the whole thing about the soul. Now, we're going to get more in depth into the soul. I just wanted to highlight the foundation and the structure of the soul. We're now in these next few episodes, we're going to get everything that's in the soul, like what the soul entails completely, so you can know what's going on in your soul and how your atmosphere, your spirit affects your soul, your emotions affect your soul, your flesh affects your soul. Right? We're going to know how all these 4 elements affect your soul. and why it affects your soul and how it affects your soul. We're gonna work on all of these things, right? We're gonna get into depth over the next few episodes, and I'm excited because I'm excited to share this information with you all, right? I'm excited to go down this journey of learning and sharing this information with y'all. So as I'm applying it and I'm conquering conquering the battles and things like that, I want y'all to be great too. Like, don't y'all ain't going down, not that easily. So if you feel like giving up, I will slap you upside the head. Get yourself together. We got work to do. You're great. Because I honestly see good in people. Whether other people see good in other people or not, I try to see good and the light in people. And I'm going to close this with I'm going to close this with some words, some kind words, because I really like to acknowledge people and who they are as a person, and acknowledge the good in people. And so earlier today, I received some information. I received some news that somebody I went to school with is no longer with us on this earth. I was a little taken back by it. It bothered me today. I was at work when I received this news. It really bothered me today. But thank God I made it through work. This person, from the years I knew him in school, because after high school, he moved away. I moved to, Cleveland shortly after I graduated high school. So, during high school, he had a good heart. He had a good heart, and he was funny. He got on my nerves. He worked my nerves, but it was like in a comical way. I have people that have been in my life that they know how to say and do certain things to get me to fuss at them or fuss with them or talk junk to them or start roasting them. And it's all in love. Like, there's no hate or disrespect to it. It's all in love. And he was one of those people that really, he knew what to say and what to do to get me to fuss. If I was having a bad day, he knew what to say to get me to fuss, and it'd be so funny that I couldn't do nothing but laugh and be like, get out my face, you stupid self. Like, and it was, he knew how to do that. There was a lot of situations, and I've shared this story before. And in high school, I was the victim of bullying, right? And it was a lot of situations. It was a couple of situations, not a lot, but a couple of situations. Now I can stand 10 toes down. I can go toe to toe. I can stand up to a bully myself. But it was a lot of time for my diaphragm and my lungs and my voice box produced the words to stand up to these bullies. It was a lot of times that this guy, and it was a couple of times that this guy and his sister, they just shot past me. And like all you see was these two alpha wolves just going and you not gonna talk junk to him? You not go somewhere with that. Like they be ready to like physically fight on my behalf. And I'm like, y'all do know I can handle myself, right? Like, y'all do know I can handle myself. And then it's like, okay, no, we got you, you good, we got you. And I'm like, but I can handle like if I wanted to knock so and so out, I can knock so and so out. Like I got enough anger in me already, to be able to punch somebody in their face if I really wanted to. But no, we got you, we got that. That's the type of person he was. Like I never known him to be a bully, but I've always known him to stand up for people who was being bullied. You know what I'm saying? And there was, like I said, was a couple of situations where he did that for me, and I'm like, I appreciate it. Like I really sincerely appreciate it. But at the time, I'm saying thank you, I appreciate it. In the back of my head, I'm like, yo, what the hell just happened? Like, but he will truly be missed. Like I say, he had a heart. He had a heart, and I see beyond the physical and the material of people. I see beyond, the false narratives or the preconceived notions or the negativity that people think about somebody else. I see past that, and he will be missed. And my prayers, my thoughts, and my condolences are with his siblings, his parents, his kids, and his loved ones, and the rest of their family. This was a shocker to me, y'all. It hit close to home, especially when you like somebody, you like that person, and y'all may not be the brother friends, but at any given moment, if your paths ever crossed, you know that person has your back and you have that person's back. Because it was one situation where, I don't know, it was these two guys that were, I wouldn't call it bullying, but by definition, they were bullying. Like, I could take these two people head on. Like, I take these two guys head on, hands down. Like, I ain't trying to sound big-headed, but I can stand on my own, But I was like mad. Like, he was like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm not in the mood. I'm about to, F somebody up. So-and-so. Like, well, what they say? And I tell him what they said. And he was like, what's their name? And I'm telling him their name. And I'm like, bruh, don't do nothing stupid. Like, don't do nothing stupid. And he's like, I ain't gonna do nothing stupid. And for some strange reason, the two guys stopped bullying me. They stopped saying derogatory names to me for some strange reason. I'm like, what did you say? I ain't said nothing. I ain't said, all right, dude, I'm gonna let you have that. Like, because you want some mafia type stuff. But like I paid you to go and handle an issue. That's the heart he had. That's the type of heart he had. And his sister has that same type of heart. So I really do send my love and my prayers. Rest well, my brother. Until we meet again. I appreciate what I appreciate the things that you have done in my life. When we were in high school, I really do appreciate that, because he was also there on these days that I just thought about giving up on life. And whether he knew what was going on in me, with me, or whether he didn't, he always said something stupid and silly out the way that just got me fussing at him and laughing, because that's how that's how him and I were. And I will forever be grateful with that. Yeah. But I'm okay. But y'all just send prayers to his family, his kids, his loved ones, all of them. Because that's a big family. All right. So, As God, every member of the family. 'Cause that's the big family. God is the only one that can shield that hedge of protection and that comfort. Yeah, that's the like I said, that's the army of family right there. But yeah, yeah. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Tapping into Life podcast. Until next time. Until next time. It's been great. It's been great. I hope y'all took some notes. I hope you all really study, because we're going to get more in depth with the soul, and as the soul pertains to us, the individual. And you're, like I said, you're going to find a lot of connection to different aspects of your life. Okay. So until next time, be blessed, be smart, be wise, be kind, and always show love, and continue to make the effort into tapping into the true you, the life that was spoken to you from day one. Till next time, peace.